Hello guys, welcome back to this channel Learn for Tech, and today we are on tracking on Cisco Access Switches. Welcome. To make sure different groups of data can move between switches, we use a technique called trunk. Trunks play a vital role in transporting VLAN traffic between switches. Like here, we have access switch 1 and access switch 2 should be PC1 and PC2. In this tutorial, we will illustrate the process of configuring trunks between Cisco Catalyst switches. And this is our diagram. We have PC1 with this IP. Now let's add IP address to the PC1. 192.168.1.1. One and 2.168.1.2. So this is our diagram, or this is our topology. First, let's try to ping without any configuration. Check if PC1 can see PC2. Command prompt ping 192.168.1.1. You can see PC1 can see or can ping PC2 because they're on the default configuration or on the default VLAN. Because there's no configuration, these ports are all on the VLAN 1. So now let's start creating VLANs on switch 1. Sorry. On command line interface, enable config hostname access switch 1. So let's create VLAN 10 VLAN 20 name administration exit, and let's go to switch 2. Now we have done our first step. We now have a VLAN 20, and the name of the VLAN is administration. Let's put the interfaces connected to the computers to the correct VLAN. Now, after creating VLANs, let's add the VLAN to the appropriate interfaces. Like now, interface S0, 1, switch port, access, VLAN 20, exit. Now we have added VLAN to the interfaces. Now let me try to ping PC2 from PC1, let me try to ping PC2. You can see now we have the packet loss is 100%. It will not, it will time out, it has time out because we have not configured a trunk on the port FA010 on switch 1 and switch 2. That's why we have this timeout. Now, for PC1 to access PC2 on different switches, we must configure trunk on port FA010, FA0/10, and FA0/10 on switch 2. Now let's go to the to our switch and configure trunk interface FA010 switch port mode trunk. Let's go to switch 2 interface FA010 switch port mode trunk. Now it's up. The protocol, the LAN protocol interface FA010 status up. Now we should note that with switch port mode trunk command, depending on the switch model, you might see some error on different switches. If we want to change the interface to trunk mode, sometimes we need to change trunk encapsulation type, type like .1Q. But for this, I'm using the updated Cisco packet tracer. Automatically, when I enter this command, automatically it picks .1Q encapsulation protocol, and we have 3 protocols, encapsulation protocols. We have .1Q interfaces using only for .1Q interface uses only 802.1Q tracking encapsulation when tracking, and we have ISL interfaces use only ISL tracking encapsulation, and we have negotiate device will negotiate tracking encapsulation with peer on the interface. Either we specify, maybe we can specify .1Q or ISL, or just negotiate the switches will negotiate the appropriate encapsulation protocol. Now, for our device here, it has automatically picked .1Q encapsulation protocol. So we can verify this with show interface FA0 switch port. You can see now here with this command, we know the name of our interface. We see switch port, enable, administration mode, we have trunk, operational mode, we have a trunk. Now administrative trunking, this one, encapsulations .1Q, operation trunking encapsulation .1Q. So automatically we have the .1Q protocol enabled. This is how we can verify our interface, whether trunk or access. Now, after configuring trunking, before, when we added VLAN to these interfaces, we have noticed that cannot communicate with each other because of the ports. The ports are by default they are on access mode, but now we have configured them into a trunking. Let's try to ping and see what will happen. So as you can see now, with tracking configuration on FA010 and FA010 on switch 1 and switch 2, we can now have the access to C2. So in this summary, I want to say that trunking is fundamental in Cisco switch configurations, as it facilitates VLAN segmentation, it facilitates the segmentation of VLANs, inter-switch communication, optimized bandwidth usage, flexibility in network design, support virtualization, scalability, reduced cable complexity, and effective broadcast control. Like here, with VLAN 20 and VLAN 20 here, we could not ping this PC unless we configure a trunk protocol on this port 10 and this port 10. So now I want us to verify VLAN, show VLAN. Let me maximize it. First of all, if we use the show VLAN command, we don't see FA010 interface here. We don't have FA010 interface. If you observe, this is completely normal because the show VLAN command only shows interfaces in access mode and no trunk interface. Like here, all these ports, by default, all these ports are in access mode, and we have added this access port to VLAN 20. That's what we can see here. But with trunk ports, we cannot see trunk ports here with show VLAN command. That's why when we check here, we don't have FA010 because we have already configured it into a trunk mode. Now, let's verify our interfaces. I want to show you one more thing about access trunk and trunk interfaces. Let's go to with this command, show interface FA01 switch port. We can see that with this command, we can also see that this port is in access port, and with the same command with the FA010, we can see that this port, it will be in a trunk port. FA01 is access port because we have connected it to the PC or the user directly. That's why it's access port. And would show interface FA0 switch port. With this command, we can see now first with the same command with FA01, you can see its access, but with the same command with FA010, you can see it's a trunk port. This is how we configure trunk on Cisco Access Switches.